I'm Wes from Recommended Playing, and this video will cover all of the 9 mixed juices available in Dead Rising 2 with information on how to make them, what they do, and their practical applications. This will contain some minor spoilers for a few psychopaths and scoop events. Mixed juices are efficient healing items and can provide powerful or useful buffs. These can unfortunately only be consumed by Chuck. Survivors won't accept Chuck's crazy concoctions. If you're rescuing survivors, you'll want to carry some standard healing items like orange juice or alcohol. Otherwise, you should exclusively be a juice enjoyer. They're just the most efficient ways to heal. This guide is not going to go over every single food combination to make the juices. I'll only be covering the easiest and most practical mixes in the context of Dead Rising 2. There are quite literally hundreds of different combinations, but really you only need to know the ones that are actually easy to make. A quick note, but all juices can be boosted with the Juice Boost magazine. Most of the time it's not overly practical, but it can be moderately useful. If you want additional information on magazines, you can check out the dedicated video on the subject. The Energizer juice will cause Chuck to become immune to damage for 10 seconds. The Energizer, like all juices, will heal Chuck for 6 health blocks. The most practical recipe for an Energizer is chili and chili, and it's available in Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant in the food court, which also conveniently houses a blender. You can also use lobster and pasta, which is available in Cucina Donaci, also in the food court. Finally, you can use apple and pineapple, as well as apple and whiskey to make Energizers, but they are significantly harder to make this way. You can grab some whiskey from various bars and bring it to Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant and combine them with the apples inside for some easy Energizers. The Energizer juice effect is strong but quite limited. It's only very useful when you're in real danger of being comboed to death. This is most prevalent in the PS4 and Xbox One remasters, specifically with the snipers on the platinum and silver strips. They can machine gun fire their sniper rifles in those versions, and this can be a real problem. You can alleviate this problem of instant death by endless combo by bringing an Energizer juice with you. You'll survive, but you may not once the effect runs out. Unfortunately, the 10-second effect is so limited that the Energizer juice really isn't worth going out of the way for. The effect is no doubt very strong, and it can be useful in psychopath battles, but you're likely better off sticking with the new mixed juice, the Painkiller, instead for more reliable damage mitigation, as well as having much better availability. The Nectar juice will cause a queen to spawn nearby Chuck. Queens will only spawn near Chuck after having witnessed the queen cutscene. This happens on the way to the safe house on the morning of the second day, after giving Katie her second dose of Zombrex. If this hasn't happened yet, no queen will spawn when you consume a nectar. Drinking a second nectar while having the nectar effect active will also not spawn a second queen. You'll have to wait for the effect to wear off before consuming another nectar for a new queen. The nectar effect lasts for 6 minutes, and just like all the mixed juices, a nectar heals for 6 health blocks. The absolute easiest mix for a nectar is 2 orange juice or 2 apples. You can stock up on orange juice from Roy's Mart in Royal Flush Plaza. Then you can bring that orange juice to the blender at the bar in Slot Ranch Casino. You can also make a nectar by using 2 apples in Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant. Finally, in the Pub of Gold, you can find a small stockpile of orange juice and you can blend those into nectars at the blender nearby. The nectar is a solid healing item with a useful effect. You can use the nectar to heal and then grab a zombie clearing queen to refill your inventory. You can think of a queen like a grenade. In Dead Rising 2, queens are significantly less useful. Dead Rising 2's superior survivor AI and generally more open areas mean the value of a crowd clearing queen is lessened. You can still opt to carry a queen or 2 around for emergencies, but they are significantly less useful. This is doubly true because of the prevalence of combo weapons and their large crowd clearing capabilities. There are a few situations where having a queen is moderately useful. Most notably is BB in the Scoop One Hit Wonder. You can use a queen here to safely save BB and avoid an accidental mutiny. You can pre-mix a nectar by using an OJ in Roy's Mart before starting BB's requests. Then you can use the queen once you've completed her tasks for an easy rescue. Thankfully, you don't need to do any queen collecting in Dead Rising 2. This means the nectar is overall less valuable. You can easily get through the game without blending a Nectar or using a Queen. That being said, you need to blend and consume at least one for the Look at All That Juice achievement. Nectar's effect also has anti-synergy with the Juice Boost magazine. You normally will chug a Nectar for the 6 health blocks and the Queen. The quicker that Nectar's effect runs out, the faster you can consume another Nectar for an additional Queen. The effect lasting longer is a hindrance if you're chugging Nectars for Queens. Just a little food for thought. The Painkiller juice will cause Chuck to take reduced damage from enemy attacks. This effect lasts for 1 minute. The Painkiller, like all juices, will heal Chuck for 6 health blocks. The Painkiller is by far the easiest mixed drink to make in Dead Rising 2. It also has the simplest recipes and the most locations to mix them in. The combinations are dead simple. Vodka with vodka, whiskey with whiskey, and finally, beer with beer. These materials are readily available at almost every bar. You can easily get the materials and blend Painkillers at Shots and Awe in the Americana Casino, Jugs Bar and Grill on the Platinum Strip, The Bar in Slot Ranch Casino, Baron von Broadhouse in the Yucatan Casino, and the Pub of Gold on the Silver Strip. The Painkiller is easily the most readily available mixed juice in the game, and you can easily stock up almost anywhere in Fortune City. This makes it the go-to mixed juice for Chuck to drink throughout the game. Most of the locations to make Painkillers also have an unlimited supply of alcohol. You can make as many as you need quickly and painlessly. The effect is very strong, giving you 1 minute of reduced damage taken. This is a much more practical effect than the 10 seconds of invulnerability granted from the Energizer, especially for psychopath battles. After taking damage, you can chuck a Painkiller and you'll have reduced damage taken for presumably the rest of the fight. Most psychopath battles won't last longer than a minute or two, so the limited duration of the damage reduction from the Painkiller isn't really a hindrance. Painkillers are just Chuck's new best friend in Dead Rising 2. Just remember the mixes. 2 vodka, 2 beer, or 2 whiskey. Extremely simple and easy to remember. Whenever you're near a bar and need to stock up, it's dead simple to make some Painkillers. The Quickstep juice will cause Chuck to gain significantly increased movement speed. This effect lasts for 1 minute. The Quickstep, like all juices, will heal Chuck for 6 health blocks. There are a lot of ways to make Quicksteps, but by far and wide, the easiest way to make them is with 2 wines. This is a lot like the Painkiller. Double wine is a super easy mix, and it's readily available in unlimited quantities in Baron von Broadhouse in the Yucatan Casino, as well as Shots and Awe in the Americana Casino. These are the easiest ways to make Quicksteps. These 2 locations also have a blender to quickly make as many Quicksteps as you can carry. Quicksteps are useful for both getting around the mall as well as psychopath battles. Quicksteps will help you close the distance faster so you can get some hits in and then get out before the inevitable counterattack. It just makes the timing window a little nicer. Other than psychopath applications, Quicksteps are just useful tools for getting around Fortune City. The timeline can get a little tight at times, and anything that you have at your disposal to speed up running from A to B is positive. You can drink to top yourself up, and then use the movement speed boost to get wherever you need to go at a bit of a faster clip. Quickstep should be your second go-to healing item for the speed increase, and its efficient healing. Painkillers are easily your number 1 healing choice. You should stock up on Quicksteps whenever you've got some downtime, or you're going through the Americana Casino or the Yucatan. The Randomizer juice is the weakest mixed drink and should be actively avoided under most circumstances. Most of the time it will make Chuck sick. This causes Chuck to periodically stop, drop what he's carrying, and then vomit. This effect lasts quite a while. Randomizers can occasionally give you a random juice effect. Obviously it's not ideal because it's uncontrollable. Ideally, you'll get an Energizer, Painkiller, or Quickstep effect. Alternatively, you could get something like a Zombait when you really don't want it. Besides, the other beneficial drinks are easy enough to stockpile and will give you a consistent effect. You'll only ever want to make 1 randomizer for the Look at All That Juice achievement. It has no practical applications otherwise. The easiest mix for a randomizer is using a beer and a whiskey. These are readily available at most of the bars in Fortune City. Make a randomizer and consume it once when you're going for the Look at All That Juice achievement. Otherwise, you should forget it exists. The Repulse juice will cause zombies to actively avoid Chuck and be repelled if they ever get too close to him. This effect lasts for 1 minute. The Repulse, like all mixed juices, will heal Chuck for 6 health blocks. The Repulse is easily made in the food court in Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant. You can make 2 Repulses every time you enter the food court by mixing a pizza from Hungry Joe's Pizzeria and a chili together in this blender. You can also use beans and apple to make a 3rd Repulse whenever you're in Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant. You can think of the Repulse like Isabella's anti-zombie perfume from the original Dead Rising. It will cause zombies to actively avoid Chuck, and if they get too close, they'll be knocked away. This is very similar in practical application to the Untouchable juice, but it is a stronger effect overall. Why stop at stopping zombies from grabbing you? The Repulse will just push them out of the way, which largely mitigates grabs. The Repulse also has a practical application similar to the Zombait. When the Repulse is active, zombies have a tendency to kind of shut down when close to Chuck. This helps both Chuck and survivors run through zombie hordes relatively painlessly. Is it necessary? Not really. Dead Rising 2 is so easy that you don't really ever need to use a Repulse. If you had to pick between stockpiling Zombaits, Repulses, or Untouchables as a helpful bonus while rescuing survivors, you should absolutely pick Repulses. Repulses would be much more useful if there were any extremely dense zombie packs, but those are few and far between in Dead Rising 2. It would mostly be beneficial during the final cases, but it's not difficult to get through those without Repulses. You can experiment with them and see if you like them, but otherwise, not a huge amount of use for them. The Spitfire juice will cause Chuck to breathe fire when he spits. This effect lasts for 1 minute. To spit, unequip Chuck's weapon and aim and shoot as if he was about to throw a weapon or fire a gun. The Spitfire, like all juices, will heal Chuck for 6 health blocks. The easiest location to make Spitfires is in the food court, specifically Hamburger Fiefdom and Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant next door, which has the blender. The easiest mixes are hamburger and onion rings, ketchup and mustard, and taco with burrito. Using these mixes, you can easily make 3 to 4 Spitfires every time you enter the food court. Unfortunately, there are absolutely 0 practical applications for the Spitfire. It is just terrible in Dead Rising 2. Instead of being a strong projectile like in Dead Rising, it's now a very small flame burst directly in front of Chuck. You need to basically be on top of a zombie to use it, and that puts you at a very high risk of being grabbed. The flame shot will kill a zombie, but it's awkward to use and significantly worse than just using any of Chuck's special moves instead. You can use the Spitfire to farm unarmed kills for the Zombie Foo achievement, but you're much better off not bothering. Chuck's special moves are stronger, and you can collect kills faster without the Spitfire. The hand-to-hand magazine is available at the start of the game and will ensure that moves like the smash or elbow drop are one-hit kills. These are easier and faster methods than attempting to blow tiny flames on zombies. Spitfires hold 0 value and should only be made and consumed once for the look at all that juice achievement. Every single other juice has more useful benefits and practical applications. This is basically on par with a randomizer. The Untouchable juice will prevent Chuck from being grabbed by zombies. This effect lasts for 1 minute. The Untouchable, like all juices, will heal Chuck for 6 health blocks. The simplest recipe for the Untouchable is hamburger and fries. These are readily available in Hamburger Fiefdom in the food court. You can also use steak and vodka and large soda with onion rings. Untouchables don't have a ton of specific usage. Preventing Chuck from being grabbed by zombies in general is pretty strong, but it only lasts for a minute, and zombies are not really that densely packed in Dead Rising 2. The maintenance tunnels in Dead Rising were legitimately a threat, but in Dead Rising 2 they are so openly spaced that you can easily dodge zombies. It's not even a concern. Untouchables are also largely rendered obsolete by the existence of repulses. If you're going to make an untouchable, you should just consider a repulse instead, as it has a broader effect. The reduced usefulness, availability, and applications for untouchables means it's generally something you'll make and consume once for the look at all that juice achievement, and then never really think about again. The Zombait juice will cause zombies to become more aggressive towards Chuck. This effect lasts for 1 minute. The Zombait, like all juices, will heal Chuck for 6 health blocks. The easiest places to make a Zombait are in the food court. You can grab lots of the materials from Cheesecake Mania and Lombardi's. The most convenient mixes are brownie and cake, and cookies with donut from Cheesecake Mania. Zombaits can easily be made by using 2 jelly beans from Lombardi's in the food court. Lombardi's is by far the most convenient place to stock up on supplies for multiple Zombaits. Then you can mix them in the Rojo Diablo Mexican restaurant blender. You can also use Chocolate Dreams in the Palisades Mall to stock up on jelly beans and mix them in the blender in the swim bar in the center of the Palisades. Zombaits have minimal usage in Dead Rising 2. They only have any usage when you're rescuing survivors. If you're choosing to ignore survivors, the effect is strictly detrimental and should be avoided. If you're rescuing survivors, Zombaits will have most of the attention drawn to Chuck, which does allow your survivors to more freely make it through hordes of zombies. The main issue is that Dead Rising 2 survivors are already quite competent and will largely be able to pass through hordes easily. If they do get grabbed by a zombie, survivors have a tendency to break themselves free without much trouble more often than not. This largely makes the Zombait obsolete. You can still use Zombaits, but the additional attention drawn to Chuck will likely make it more trouble to escort survivors than if you didn't have one active. Repulses will likely have a similar effect to Zombait, with the superior effect of making zombies less aggressive rather than more aggressive. I've played through the entirety of Dead Rising 2 multiple times and cannot see a valid reason to go out of your way for Zombaits. That's every mixed juice covered with all of the juicy details. The Quickstep and the Painkiller are clearly the winners. Who could have guessed that those two would be the best juices to make? You know, when there are bars everywhere in Fortune City? The Repulse essentially replacing both the Untouchable and the Zombait is pretty interesting though. Kinda similar with the Painkiller being so strong. It's a little like Blue Castle wanted to leave their own little distinct mark. Their OC juices are just better than the originals. A little food for thought. Just remember, only Chuck can drink mixed juices. Always be prepared with some additional healing items if you're rescuing survivors. It can make the difference between a rescue and a premature death. Otherwise, go ahead and play bartender and mix the juiciest juices and chug them all down. Thanks for watching everyone. A special shout out to my Patreon supporters. Your support goes a long way in helping the channel out. If you like the Dead Rising content, you can check out the Dead Rising playlist, which features multiple video guides on how to rescue all of the survivors and how to get all the achievements for the Dead Rising series. You can also like and subscribe for more Dead Rising content that's coming soon. Thanks for watching.